Hello, this is Pikaso Plays. We are playing Death Trick Double Blind, a kind of story-based, story-rich game, which involves a magician and a detective. Two different characters that you play interchangeably depending on which turn you are. They swap around every single turn. So far, we know that a separate magician, Hattie, has disappeared, and magician Jackie has offered to play her role in the traveling circus, Morgan's traveling circus, that she was a part of, and they have a show today. Not today, but today in game, obviously. And also the detective was called in for help. That's all I know. I don't know which character I'm playing right now. It's also 11 o'clock. I'm assuming that this is the detective. Oh yeah, I should go talk to the client first. Rolf said he's in the square tent. Oh, right. Client first. Come in! I can't be sure if I already talked to him. Let's make the first move. What business brings you here, Mr. So he doesn't know me. That's good, but also odd. If I didn't come here to meet him, why was I here? Is there someone else that I was supposed to meet? Circus secrets. Ruth told me the carnies are notoriously guarded to outsiders, thus making my investigation difficult. And Rolf? About Detective Jones. This. Yeah. I'm sorry, you are... I should probably introduce myself first. Oops. This one. Well, I should ask you. After all, it was you that called us Mr. Morgan? Mr. Jones? From San Francisco? Yes. Oh, okay, now we know. I understand I'm here to investigate the disappearance of your magician? Well, not quite. You see, there are a few details I didn't want to mention over the phone. I was hoping to just let you know in private when you get here. To be honest, I was expecting you to be a little earlier. The situation has evolved since the call was made to you. I apologize. There was an incident. Anyway, what do you mean not quite? Do you know where she is? He sighed. I trust that there is no need to say this conversation must remain strictly confidential. Yes, of course. Well, there is no easy way to say this, but Hattie is not missing. She's dead. Well, that's certainly one significant detail that you left out. Sorry, but I hope you understand. We don't really have another choice. The circus isn't ready to handle the consequences of that announcement, particularly when we still don't even know why it happened and who did it. But you're sure it's murder? Yes, she was found with a knife in her chest. Oh. About the crime scene. Where did the murder take place? Can I go see the crime scene? Well, about that. There is actually no crime scene anymore. What? What does that even mean? Well, the day it happened, we were busy setting up the circus. Most tents weren't set up yet. The only one we had was a small temporary tent for storage. And that's the crime scene? Yes, and we had to take it down because the circus had to open. So we have nothing. The police did take a photo of the scene. Here's a copy. What's that board? That's an act we do. It's Hattie's signature performance, the knife-throwing act. Someone would be tied to the board just like this, and she throws knives at the board, always hitting the board but never the partner. The crowds love it. Well, could this have been a practice gone wrong? There's just one problem with that. Hattie's the one throwing the knife, not the one being tied up. It doesn't make sense why she'd be on there. Do you know if anyone else in your circus is a trained knife thrower? As far as I know, the only one who can do it is Hattie, but obviously she couldn't have done it to herself. Obviously. If you have questions about the act, you should ask Ideen about it. She's our fire performer. She's always Hattie's partner on the knife-throwing performances. Our Hattie's signature performances was a knife throwing act. One of Hattie's, okay, which she performs with Ideen as a partner. As far as anyone knows, Hattie's the only one in the circus trained in knife throwing. Okay, how about the knife? Do you recognize it? Yes, it's the circus equipment. It's the one of our custom-made throwing knives. I don't know much about the details, except that they are very sharp and balanced for throwing. That said, it still can't be easy to get them to hit a precise target with enough force to penetrate. There might be one thing you are missing. What is it? Just because the murder weapon is a throwing knife doesn't mean the killer really has to throw it. No one witnessed the process. For all we know, they might have just tied her to the board, picked up the knife, and stabbed it into the board. Right. Maybe that's the point. It's all just a misdirection by the killer. Or maybe there's something to the knife throwing. Some symbolic reason? I can't be sure yet. Are there any fingerprints on the knife? I asked that too, but no, they couldn't find any fingerprints on it. So the killer was either wearing gloves or wiped it off. Alright, I think that's all I need to ask about the photo. Okay, then you can keep the photo. I just have one request. What? Please don't show it to people unless it's for a good reason. She was their friend after all, and I hope to spare as many of them from seeing that as I can. If you have other questions about the photo, you can come back and ask me. Of course. About what happened? Can you walk me through what happened from the beginning? When did the murder take place? We arrived in Tulgi this Monday before sunrise. It took most of the day to set up, so I gave everyone the rest of the afternoon and evening off. I had some business to deal with at the bank, and I needed to meet with a few investors, so I made a trip into town. It was raining like hell that afternoon, and the road got very muddy. By the time I came back, it was almost 9 p.m. and everyone was waiting for me. And that was when they told me Hattie was dead. One of our performers, Echo, found Hattie in the storage room. Her pulse was already gone by then. And did they call the police? I called the police later that night. Wait, so someone's dead, but they waited until you were back to contact anyone? Mr. Jones, I know it might seem strange, but you have to understand, in the circus, we are very guarded people. Most of us haven't had pleasant interactions with law enforcement in our history, either. Usually, we try to resolve these matters within the community, but something like this has never happened in our group, and I was shocked and very concerned. So I insisted on calling them. I understand. Then why hire a private investigator if the police are in on it? He paused, pressing his lips together. When he spoke again, I could almost see the amount of force used to unclench his jaw. I called them on Monday night. They show up here the next day. They took the body, took some photos of the scene, and asked everyone a few questions. I haven't heard from them since. No updates? Nothing? I called them yesterday to ask if I could have a copy of the autopsy result. They stonewalled me. Do you know why they are neglecting this case? Corruption, laziness, prejudice, I don't know, and frankly, I don't much care. In my business, you learn very quickly that you can't buy respect from those that don't have it. What you can buy, though, is solutions. And that's where I come in. And that's where you come in. So you don't have the autopsy report yet. I'll call them again to request it, but at this point, no. I wouldn't bet on it. That means you don't even have a clear time of death. Actually, I think the last time everyone saw her was around 5 p.m. A few of my workers saw her coming out of her trailer, and no one knew where she went afterward until Echo found her at 7 p.m. And can we be sure these are reliable? Yes, they can both be collaborated with others. You said it was raining that afternoon, correct? Do you remember when the rain started and stopped? I think it didn't start until I got into town, so about 4 o'clock, and it had already ended when I got back. And how was the weather these past few days? It has not rained since. Good. That gives us a pretty good window. I can ask around and see what everyone's doing during that time period. 5 to 7 on Monday. Looking for an alibi, right? It usually can't help us catch the killer, but might help to rule out a few suspects. Good to know. About the victim. Did she have any enemies, anyone you know that hated her? Enough to kill her? That's hard to imagine. The circus performs out together everywhere. We are a close-knit group. We've been working with each other for a while, and nothing has seemed out of the ordinary. Could it be someone outside the circus? We never stay in one place for long, and this is just one of the many ordinary stops we make. It's unlikely that they have any deep entanglements with anyone in this town. So you think one of your own did it? I don't know what to think, Detective. It's okay we don't give an answer. I understand if you want to keep your opinions private. I appreciate that, but there's no need to coddle me. Look, rationally, I know the person that did it was here before the show even opened. Probably has a personal grudge and has access to storage areas. All signs of someone in your crew. Yes. If I feel like I know what you're going to ask. If hypothetically I ask you what you think could be the killer's motive, I'm afraid I'm not the best person to ask. It's your circus. Generally, I try to refrain from intervening too much in their interpersonal relationships. From my position, I'm afraid my meddling would sometimes do more harm than good. The performers would surely be able to tell you more about this than I could ever do. However, whether they'll be entirely forthcoming with you is another matter. Well, that's for me to worry about. You just need to tell me who I need to talk to. You might want to talk to the other performers and our mechanic Alice. They are the ones that knew her best. Oh, and there's one more person you should be aware of. I'm sure you're aware of what's going on in the newspapers. I'm not, but I'll just and let him go on. We can't announce a death yet for obvious reasons, but we are under a lot of pressure. The show must go on, as they say, so I had an idea. What sort of idea are we talking about? I hired someone to pretend to be Hattie, at least, until we get the case figured out. So you are telling me there's just a fake version of the murder victim walking out there? Well, I told her to keep a low profile, so you shouldn't see her around too much. How nice of you to remember to inform me about that, lest I see her sneaking around and assume I saw a ghost. I just thought you should be aware. And just where did you manage to find this replacement? Might this person have anything to do with the case? I looked into it, and no, she wasn't anywhere near the circus at the time. That I'm sure of. That's all. Alright, I think I'm all caught up. Do we have a time frame about when I need to solve the case? The circus is leaving tonight. Huh? Tonight? Yes, we were scheduled to stay here for a week. Hattie was found dead on Monday, and I called you on Wednesday. This is the last day we have here. But don't you still have a show tonight? We have a show every night. How can you pack up all of this in one night? You haven't seen a circus performance before, have you? You walk into the tent at 7. By the time you walk out, everything but the big top will be gone. Disappear. I've seen people compare it to magic before. So I'll only have today to figure things out. It's already 11, so I have 12 hours to solve a murder case? Sorry, but I really can't delay anything. The circus's future performances are all scheduled. Well, I should say sorry for my tardiness. When I called your office, you already informed me it's going to take a few days. It's unfortunate, but we can only work with the circumstances we have. I respect that mentality. The big show starts at 7, ends before 10. The train will start leaving in sections, with the last one departing less than 2 hours after the show ends. So you're telling me any witnesses or evidence I could possibly have will all be gone before midnight? That's right. It's like Cinderella, but instead of a princess, I'm chasing a murderer. Well, when you put it that way. Well, it seems like time is short and we must get to work. I'll need anything and everything you can give me about the case. I might also need to talk to some of your people. Of course. And if they ever manage to send over the autopsy result, I'll let you know as soon as possible. I'll give everyone a heads up about you being here, and you can talk to anyone working here. But it is a show day, so they might still have responsibilities that keep them busy at times. Sorry about that. Oh, and there's one more thing. What else? Well, this is a circus, and there are certain trade secrets we have to protect. What does that mean? It means that there are certain areas only available to members of the circus, and I'd prefer if it stayed that way. You hired a detective, yet you still want to keep all of your secrets? Not all of them. Just the stable and the backstage are off limits, and do not go barging into people's private rooms in a train without permission. They tend to be very territorial. I'm beginning to think you don't even want me to solve this case. Look, Mr. Jones, I'm going to be completely honest with you for a second. Hattie is dead, and there's nothing I can do to change that, including catching who did it. Tension is high in the circus, and the best thing I can do is to keep things running as usual and maintain a sense of normalcy for my folks. I've been through enough goodbyes to know that the last thing you want at a time like this is everything else changing too. So yes, of course I care about solving the case. I wouldn't have called you here otherwise, but do I care about it more than keeping this circus running and keeping everyone from falling apart? No. Well, you are the client. I will work with the restrictions. Can't guarantee how much they will impede the work, though. That's all I ask for. I know the conditions are difficult. Just do your best. I always do. That's one action point. Alright, where do I start? The fortune teller's tent looks intriguing. I wonder if it will be open. Or I can go to the fair area. There must be people around there. Or maybe I can go to the big top. Check out what performances are going on there. I know that Hattie or Jackie, our replacement magician, is going to the fortune teller, so maybe I want to go there too! Compared to the magnanimous big top, this hut stooped quietly off to the corner with barely any traffic from visitors. I can almost feel the whole tent shaking when I pull on the curtains to enter, making me question the structural integrity of the whole thing. It's fine. It might not look that way, but this is quite a sturdy tent. Welcome to the fortune teller's hut, stranger. What are you looking for today? A murderer. Detective Jones? Mr. Moses said you'd be around. That's me. Although the boy spoke to me in a serious tone, his squeaky voice and rounded face said, and everything about his tiny stature in this already tiny tent betrayed his age. He is young, and not even youthful, but inexperienced sort of young. The what are you doing here in your parents' place sort of young. I'm Tito, the fortune teller. Well, Tito, I'm looking for the murderer. Can you help? So as I said, what I'm looking for is the culprit behind Hattie's death. Can you help me with that? As a fortune teller or as a member of the circus, is there a difference? I don't really have any information on what happened with Hattie, if that's what you are looking for. But you can provide help with your magic stuff. The spirits can provide guidance, but they won't tell you what you aren't capable of knowing yet. So you are telling me I can't just reveal the murderer by drawing on a few cards or saying a spell? Disappointing. However, if you are interested in reading, I can do one for you. Oh, I don't. The first reading is free. Oh, let's do it then. Not that I'm being stingy. You don't need to explain. He quickly placed a deck of tarot cards on the table as a way to end this awkward conversation. So what are you looking to learn about today? The case, of course. If you are looking for an answer to be handed to you, that won't happen. What the cards can offer, however, is guidance. Place your hand on the deck. I reached for the deck. Wait. There's something I need to warn you about first. Huh? This deck of cards, some of them are sabotaged. What does that mean? Like they are cursed? No. Someone messed with them. With paint. Okay, why didn't you get a new set of cards then? I've developed a spiritual connection with this one. He clearly didn't want me to derail the conversation any further, so he cleared his throat and lifted his chin. Anyways, I assure you that whatever's on the cards won't interfere with the reading. So please place your hand on the deck and ask your questions to the cards, and then keep that question in mind and shuffle the cards. Alright, cards and spirits, how should I solve this case? I shuffled the cards. Split the deck into 3, and then draw the cards. We'll draw the cards. Now let's say the first card represents you, the situation you are in, what you are here to do. He gestured for me to flip it over. Justice. Now that I'm face to face with the Justice card, I had to bite my tongue to hold back my laughter. Well, I see what you meant by sabotage. The God of Justice, I assume, is holding a sword, which turned into a nice rotisserie for some delicious-looking meat. The golden scale in his hand is currently balancing a piece of pie and some coins. Justice, equity, and truth. That seems to represent what you're seeking for, yes? Yes, of course. I wouldn't say no to some rotisserie and fruit pies either. He glared. Normally I'd feel a little sorry but him reprimanding me with his baby face just isn't so intimidating. It's like getting yelled at by a puppy. Sorry. So what does the second card represent? This card represents the obstacle you are facing. La Steradosa. La Sacerdotisa? Sacerdotisa? Sacerdotisa. The High Priestess. Reversed. Secrets, hidden motives, and repressed intuition. Story of my life. I can imagine. The last card is meant to provide guidance and advice on how to best overcome said obstacle. I flipped it over. In the center of the card is a big piece of pie covered with whipped cream and slices of lemon and sliced into eight pieces. Oh, whoever did this must be a great lover of pie. There's a B. J, the High Priestess, is actually mirrored. Jan loves lemon pie. So that's the culprit. This card as well, it's supposed to be Wheel of Fortune, change karma, the turning point. It signals that something big is going to happen and what's after will be permanently different from before. In my life, or the murders, or the circus. Perhaps all three. Oh, that's interesting. Glad to be of service. I'm afraid that's all I have for you now. Your reading is complete. You can stay and rest here if you want, or you can make your way out. What is this? Oh, the map. Okay. Inquire about this. No. Why can't I ask you questions? I don't have any information that contradicts each other. No, I can't ask him any questions. Okay, let's take a look around. No, we already read all this recently. Previously, in the other episode, I was also in this tent with Jackie. Okay, I think I shall leave and go elsewhere. What? Oh. Oh my. I'll have a look at the big top. Crowds are bustling in the big top, people cheering and children laughing. The spotlights are focused on one tiny figure on top of a high wire. It's that kid. She cannot be over 12 by the looks of it. She's carrying a long pole. That's a kid. Oh, perhaps 2 or 3 times as tall as her. She glides her way across the high wire and the 2 ends of the pole fluttering rapidly with her movements, like wingtips of a carefree bird. With oohs and ahs from the crowd, she stood straighter and rose even more to stand on her tiptoes. The noise in the room almost subsides. Everyone is holding their breath. When she starts to turn slowly around on the high wire, nothing can be heard in the room besides the performance music. She twists her upper body and then turned 1 foot around. She's just about to make the turn when the pole slipped from her hand and fell to the wayside, hitting the floor with a dull clang. What does this button do? Oh, I can just read it. Oh. Should I do something? I look around unsure. I can hear panic whispers in the audience, people asking what should they do. Just when someone is about to yell at the workers to get her down, I see a big smile forming on her face. She twirled on the high wire with her hands stretched upward, reaching for the ceiling, letting out a big laugh, and danced. Now there was nothing but joy on her face, danced on a thin line in the sky like how a fish would in water. Like there was no other habitat for her. The spotlight chased after her figure on the wire, casting a dancing shadow on the ground. The crowd was stunned, and I can hear her laughter echoing in the room. The performance had everyone so entranced they barely noticed the passage of time. Not long after, she took a bow on the wire, and flew down the rope ladder in a blink. And before anyone knew it, the host was announcing a break. The room was still boiling with restless energy and anticipation from that performance, and I barely noticed anything before someone poked me in my chest. Here! I lowered my gaze. I was on the high wire. I saw you watching. Oh. From all the way there? You see far when you are high up. Did you mean to throw the pole just now? What do you think? Whatever it was very impressive. That's not an answer, isn't it? I think if you meant to do it, then you are a very good performer. Had everybody on their toes if you didn't, but then you are good at handling something like that. Do you always talk like this? What do you think I talk like? You talk like a catfish in a net. What's that supposed to mean? That's exactly what the catfish would ask. You are the detective, right? You are going to find out who killed Hattie? Did Moses already send word to everyone? How did you know it was me? Yeah, he told us someone's gonna come and ask a lot of questions, and you look like a Her tongue stumbled over the word, and she quietly huffed to herself before deciding on something else. You look like one of those people, but you don't have the silly hat and the thing they smoke. Well, now I regret leaving my silly hats at home. I probably shouldn't have felt so victorious when she let out a big laugh, but I was. That's funny. You can borrow from Chip the Clown. He has lots of silly hats. I will keep that under advisement. Are you going to ask me who killed Hattie? Hey, I'm here to ask questions, yes, but not that kind of question. Why not? Is it because you think I'm not old enough to kill her? Oh, whoa, where did that come from? And for the record, it's because I know that's not the question that will get me a useful answer, not because, what do you want me to believe you did it? No. So are you going to ask me a lot of questions or not? Well, I do have a few. End of turn? Oh, I don't get to ask her questions, or do I? By the time we finished that question, the hour is almost over. Some announcer stood at the front of the stage and started introducing the following performances. Jan tilted her head to hear what they were saying, and suddenly grabbed my hand, dragging me to the opposite direction to exit the tent. Come on, let's go. What? I think I heard something like the announcer asking if someone had seen Jan. She shouted, no, she left, before dragging me out the door. For such a tiny person, she harbors a surprising amount of force. Shouldn't you be... Nope, it's fine. They just want me to help with boring stuff. Let's go see the Calliope. The Calliope? Here. Jan dragged me all the way to the middle of the fair just as the Calliope started playing. Oh, Hattie. The sound of steam organs cut through the air, and the chatter like an airplane through a cloudy sky. I turned to look at the Calliope and noticed something intriguing. A woman is standing in the corner. She's wearing a top hat, black dress with purple ruffles, gloves and boots, and similarly decorated. As if sensing someone looking at her, she turned around, and she's wearing a mask that covers half a face, like a Venice masquerade. Her eyes met mine, and she tipped her top hat just slightly. What did I say? This is cool, right? As if punishing my lack of response, she kicked my shin to drag me out of my thoughts. Ow! You're gonna break my leg, and then you'll have to carry me around. I can't do that. You are so heavy. Hey, that woman over there, is that the magician your boss hired? Who? I turned to point to the woman, but she has disappeared, as if from thin air. I saw someone with a top hat and a dress. That's the magician's costume, right? Oh, the new Hattie? She's like a spy in the comic book. So cool. Was she here? Where did she go? I want to talk to her. I don't know. I thought I saw her for a second. Did she see me? Did she know who I am and what I'm here to do? I guess those questions can only be answered if I manage to catch her alone somewhere. Oh. Looks like that's the end of the demo. If you wish for more, please wishlist the game on Steam, and toodaloo for now. I really enjoyed this. I'm kind of excited for it to come out. It's a lot of reading to cover for you guys to enjoy, but there's like 12 more hours to the game. There's 12 more turns, I think. Yeah. That would mean... So each turn for me is about half an hour. So, and there's 12 turns, but 2 characters, so 12 more hours of gameplay. Not bad, actually. Not bad. I like the story so far. I just hope that they do some better grammatical error adjustments and all that kind of doodad. Anywho's, toodaloo for now.